I was thinking about going to my high school reunion, or a high school reunion, because it was a 14-year high school reunion, and no one does that. But it was COVID during my 10 years, so I was more enthusiastic to go the first time, because 27 is young enough for certain things to be adorable that aren't at nearly 32. Lateness and functional alcoholism and living in a roommate hostage situation. But why it's nearly 5 years after the original plan has to do with lockdown and our high school president, Ketty Silva. I kept that her government name. There are two positions where one is appointed for life, as a Supreme Court judge and as a senior class president, and both should be abolished. No one agrees with this more than Ketty Silva, who ran for class president all but unopposed to get a better chance at a scholarship, and now, in addition to student loans, has to haggle with a man named DJ Snake to play at the Knights of Columbus Hall at our shitty reunion. My friends were surprised to hear that I was thinking about going to our reunion at all. 5 or so of us have actually managed to stay in touch over the years. We all got drunk after my dad's funeral last year, and we still see each other every Christmas. So why go? They didn't need to think about why I would show up. Oh, it's Lucas, my friend Lois says. Yes, it's Lucas. I want to go because I think Lucas might be there. Is he going? My friend Naika asks. I have no idea. I hadn't seen Lucas for 10 years, but he didn't tell me anything about him the last time I saw him either. The conversation around me and Lucas has remained consistent for the last 10 years, but I find it comforting to have, like remembering the lyrics to a favorite song. The song goes like this: Lucas was my best friend for 14 years, and then one day he never talked to me again. No one ever knew why, except maybe him. But it wasn't just me that Lucas stopped talking to. It was about half of my friends at the time, although no one had known him for as long as I had. And this was the bridge to the song, a part that I secretly really loved. It was weird that Lucas dropped all of us, but especially Jamie. And especially felt good, because that time hadn't meant that anyone had forgotten that Lucas and I were the closest out of everybody. More than one person, including the parents of people who knew Lucas, have given me his phone number over the years and encouraged me to reach out, but I never really have. Since I was 6 years old, I was not just friends with Lucas, I was obsessed with Lucas. Not as a love interest, but like he was a frog I could dissect. Everything Lucas did was funny to me, everything Lucas liked was interesting to me, even though Lucas himself was not very cool. He was even bullied pretty frequently. So who was this kid who lived down the street from me, and why did it feel so normal to just hang out with him? My journals, starting in the first grade, are littered with descriptions of people I met, of boys I was in love with, arguments with my mom, and then just whole sections about what Lucas was up to. The earliest journal entry I have about him is from March 29th, 2000. It goes like this, all caps, important news. Lucas has a staple in his head. Want to know why? Here's the story. Someone knocked his head with a brick and he went to the doctor. And somehow a doctor put a staple in his head. Isn't that worse? I don't know. Now, Lucas won't even listen to me say the word staple. Once he got so sick of people saying it, he put tissue in his ears. Isn't that funny? Anyway, the staple is coming out next Monday. I bet he's scared, but I'm not sure. I just never know what to expect with Lucas. Here's what his head looks like, and then it's just a smiley face with a staple on top. The last time I saw him was 10 years ago. I reached out, not expecting a reply, and said, "Hey, I'm moving across the country in a few weeks. Could I see you?" He said yes, and we met up at an Indian restaurant near my apartment in Boston. And he looked the same. It had only been 3 years since we'd talked then, but already I was surprised at how little I knew about him. He'd transferred colleges a few months after he stopped answering my texts, and now he had a degree in pharmacy, a job I know is a good one, but I still don't understand it. Because if you're a scientist, why do you have to go to CVS every day? Lucas didn't know what to ask me either. My moving away to try to be a comedian didn't match up with who he understood me to be. All my questions were so outdated for him. Did you still talk to Megan, your crush from high school? No, they hadn't spoken in years. How were his parents? His dad fucked off to Maine a few years ago. He didn't want to talk about it. Plate after plate of lukewarm tikka masala and so much silence between us, but not the same comfortable silence from when we were kids. Exactly 90 minutes later, we left without ever talking about why we were there in the first place. I thought we were there to talk about 2012. We had to be, right? That was when we stopped talking. I don't remember who told me that Lucas was in the hospital that year, only that my friends Lois, Jenny, and I went the next day. He was under some sort of psychiatric hold, and when we asked if we could bring him magazines, we were told no, because the corners of the paper could be dangerous. He didn't want to talk about what had happened, and we didn't ask. For the hour we were there, the three of us mumbled inside jokes from high school, made fun of the stupid posters on the wall, more sort of serious variants of hang in there, anything to make him laugh. But his discomfort was palpable, and he said he'd tell us what happened sometime when he got out, when he was feeling better. And then he didn't. A week passed, and we didn't hear of anything. I texted him saying, "Thinking of you, can I call soon?" Betraying my own concern by sending an uncharacteristically sincere heart emoji. I tried a different approach the next week, something a little rougher. "Hey, fucko, are you in this state?" No response. A month later, none of us had heard a word from him, but pictures of Lucas started to appear with other people. A picture of him at a house party, a picture of him at that New Hampshire cabin we were never cool enough to be invited to in high school. He hadn't left Massachusetts at all. He just didn't want to talk to us anymore. I found this message that I sent to his sister that summer where I'm sort of like trying and failing to be cool about this. I say, "Hey girl." The hallmark of someone about to say something really cool. "Sorry for bugging you, but me, Jenny, and Lois wanted to check in and see how Lucas is. We've been texting him on and off since he got back last month and haven't heard anything. I'm thinking maybe he's out of range. Let me know, sorry." I texted Lucas once a week for the next year, more than once acknowledging that this was the friendship equivalent of the Notebook. This put something I already sort of understood into sharp focus, that that's only romantic if you're freakishly hot, otherwise it counts as harassment. If it had been anyone else, I would have stopped way sooner, but this was Lucas. A world where he didn't want to talk to me didn't make any sense. But after a year, I stopped trying. And this is another common fixture in the lyrics of What Happened with Lucas. It had to be that thing at the hospital, right? It had to be. But that wasn't the first time I'd seen Lucas in crisis, and it wasn't the first friendship crisis we'd been through together. Okay, then what else? Were we in love with each other or something? I don't buy it. We just had fun together, doing stupid social experiments and serving as each other's witness and safety blankets. In the 8th grade, I helped Lucas orchestrate his first kiss at a semi-formal dance. I was absolutely convinced that if I threw myself into organizing other 13-year-olds' romantic lives, no one would notice that no one except Derek Janukas had ever wanted to kiss me. There was nothing wrong with Derek Janukas, not really, but Lucas and I couldn't say his name without laughing. It's a dumb name. He turned out hot, my loss. Anyways, at the dance, I ran home to grab a pair of my dad's high-top boots for Lucas to wear for his first kiss so he would be tall enough to look the girl in the eye. And it worked, and his win was my win. A couple years after that, once my back brace came off and Janukas got off my fucking back, I brought Lucas on my first date ever with me because I was scared to go on a date, and it couldn't actually be a date if my best friend Lucas was there. What do you think of him? I asked after, when the guy, a baritone saxophonist in the school band, went to the bathroom. Lucas started to laugh. Why does he look like Peter Griffin? He asked. It was true. The first blowjob I ever gave was to a 17-year-old who was a dead ringer for Peter Griffin. And Lucas comforted me when Peter Griffin unceremoniously dumped me 6 months later, saying that he didn't have enough time to practice the saxophone anymore. I could do better than Peter Griffin and Derek Janukas, name also unchanged. Couldn't think of a funnier name. But it meant a lot to me that he did those things. The earliest picture of Lucas and me is from 1999. We're in first grade and sitting just beyond the playground, hiding behind some trees. For some reason, our school ghoulishly separated recess by gender then. Girls on one side of the field, boys on the other. And Lucas wasn't my only friend, but he was the only friend I could spend a half hour with without getting nervous, and the only friend that I found endlessly interesting. So we figured out a solution. I would bring a big jacket to school, pull the hood up, and walk across the invisible line to where the boys were and where my friend Lucas was. It worked for a couple days, but they knew better than to let the tall kid with the suspiciously large Bruins jacket onto that side of the grass after a while. So instead, we gave up on the yard altogether and started hiding behind the trees during recess. Our game was simple. Be quiet, try to catch a frog, and don't get caught. And so in this picture, we're just waiting for a frog, or no frog, and just being together. I looked Lucas up the other day, and that's actually a lie. I look him up a couple times a year. He's lived in Cleveland for a while now. He's still a pharmacist, and I feel certain he has my phone number too. And I don't know why I don't just call him. When I'm in the right mood, I want to invite him to my wedding. I want to tell him every single stupid thing I've done and hear every single stupid thing he's done, because even though, fine, he's a pharmacist in Cleveland, he's still on the matrix of things that I find endlessly interesting. And maybe I don't want to risk it being true, or I'm afraid I'd just ask all the stupid questions I asked 10 years ago, everything except what I really wanted to know. It would be so much easier if I could tell him I was in love with him that whole time, or he could tell me we never spoke again because I saw him at the hospital that way. But none of these things are true, I think. I think why I don't text him is because what I'm most afraid of is breaking that silence, so much silence, and finding that that's all there is left between us. Bummer ending.